We're Laura and Cindy, and you're listening to the Holistic Horsemanship and Husbandry podcast, where we talk about natural horsekeeping and deepening your connection with your horse. I'm Laura, your horse care mentor. I teach natural horse management practices after working with over 200 horses and seeing how current industry standards are compromising the health of the horse.
And I'm Cindy, your horsemanship mentor, offering a proven and unique approach to creating deep connections with your horses from 20 plus years of experience, including working with wild Mustangs. If you enjoy this conversation, please leave us a 5-star review wherever you're listening to us so we can get this podcast into the ears of more passionate horse people. I'm curious, what do you do when your horse won't do something for you or does something you don't want when you ask them to do something? And the reason that I ask that question is because if you have a horse long enough, you are going to have days, you're going to have times, you're going to have moments where you have a goal in mind and it appears that the horse has an entirely different goal. And our ego side of our being takes it personally. I mean, we really get upset. And often frustrated, sometimes angry, sometimes confused, sometimes defeated, sometimes outright scared that you just don't know what the heck you're doing. And first thing I want to say is it happens to all of us. I don't care at what level of horse mastery you are at, it happens. So why? Why can you be a brand new beginner and somebody who's been into horses their entire life, they were raised working with horses, or someone like me who kind of falls in the middle? I've had horses all my life, but I took my horsemanship journey serious and to a deeper level 25 years ago. Why does that happen to all of us? And the reason that happens is because horses' behavior is a form of communication. They're either expressing happiness and joy and harmony and companionship and partnership, or they're expressing fear and doubt and anxiety or discomfort or pain, or they don't feel good. Discomfort and don't feel good are different. It's our job as their person that we're asking to put their trust in us. It's our job to acknowledge our feelings, be aware of our moments, because those aren't going to stop any more than the horses are going to stop. Our behavior is communication. So when I get frustrated and I get impatient and I get bossy and demanding, it's all stemming from fear. It's all stemming from the fact that I'm afraid that I don't have it in me to help this horse move beyond where they're at. So all behavior is a form of communication. Can we stay present enough in our awareness of how we are showing up with our horse? How is our horse showing up with us? And if they're struggling with something, can we rise above that ego mind that gets worried and scared? And can we become curious? Can we ask? Can we take a deep breath, get back in our body and ground it? And can we ask our horse, what are you telling me? What's your answer to that, Laura?
For me, it's the difference between meeting my own standards as a horsewoman and working with my horse and letting my emotions, my agenda, my humanness get the best of me and responding to my horse in a way that is damaging to our relationship. Putting a band-aid on a solution and, reaching for those short-term relief instead of a true long-term solution.
Bandage, short-term relief versus long-term solution. My mind goes to the place, I only have so much time today, and I need to get X, Y, and Z done. It's not, I want to get it done. It's like, I need to get it done. Okay, I have a horse out, a dream catcher, my first mare, my beloved wise sage, is currently struggling with a double eye infection. And this morning she showed up lame on her back behind left hind. So she's not happy. And I need to get eye medication in her eyes 3 times a day. Some days I'm not in a hurry, and other days I am. Because of my poor planning and nothing else, let's be real. Let's get honest about that in the first place, right? If I manage my time correctly, I wouldn't be short on time and in a hurry. But then there's horse things that happen too, right? Sometimes that happens. But anyway, so there's sometimes that she's not as patient about having me put meds in her eyes and having her face, the eyes warm, compressed and washed off and dried and meds put in and her fly mask on. And I put up with some of the resistance that I would normally pause and work through with her because I have to get it done. But I'm very aware in that moment that my horse is struggling and resistant. And I'm asking myself, is she struggling today because she can feel me in a hurry? I don't have good energy. I don't have calm, present, I'm with you, baby girl, we'll get this done energy. Are her eyes really hurting more today than they have been? Is she just tired of it? Those are the things that I'm asking while I'm still getting the job done. And I'm very aware in the moment that I may not be putting the time and energy and effort into it that I want to be as the horseman woman I desire to be. And I make note. Next time I come out here, I'm clearing my table, my plate. I don't care what else has to be done. Dream has become that time frame that is above all. And I will go out there and I will be with her and I will love on her and I will work on some of her energy points on her head to release the tension. I will just let her know I know she doesn't feel good and take it nice and slow. What that concept is in my mind to what I just described, the way that I would categorize that is when we are working with our horses in that moment, the behavior that they're displaying to us is one of 2 things. How we're showing up in that moment and honoring and respecting and partnering and caring about the relationship, and or how we did it the last time. So I had a wise horseman say to me one time, once you get into doing something with the horse, it's no longer about that moment. It's about the next time you try to do it.
Yeah.
Meaning, can you be as good as you can be now? So next time, they're a willing and eager partner. Stop second guessing yourself. Feeling stuck with your horse? Second guessing every decision? Wondering if you're really doing what's best? You're not alone. Most horse owners unknowingly make mistakes that lead to frustration, resistance, and even hidden health issues. That's why we're hosting the Secrets to the Horse-Human Experience you've always wanted, so you can gain the clarity, confidence, and knowledge to make the best choices for your horse. Sign up for this live event now at the link in the show notes and start transforming your partnership today.
I have a friend who talks about doing favors for her future self all the time. That's literally what you're doing. But in the scenario that Cindy was describing, where you have to get something done and you're in a hurry, she's saying, I'm in a hurry right now, but I see where you're coming from. I get it. I honor it. And I'm creating space and time for me and you in the future to work through it. And what I believe, because of the experiences with horses that I've had, is that they feel and understand that intention. And by her energetically expressing that, Dakota's going to work with her more than if she says, you stupid mare, you're being such a bitch, give me your head, open your eye, stop resisting. And she, wraps the lead rope around the thickest tree trunk she can find and holds Dakota within 2 inches and forces those eye drops in. And both would get the job done. In that scenario where I have to get this done now, both would get the job done. But which one is doing a favor for your future self? Even if you're a little rushed, even if you see some behaviors that would not happen on the day when you weren't rushed, you still honored the horse and they felt it and believed it. And that is so important, because every interaction you have, you're either building trust or tearing it down. And when you tear it down, you have to work twice as hard to build it back up.
That's a great point, because that's exactly what I'm saying to her in that moment. I'm aware that I'm getting frustrated. I'm aware that I'm now late for my client. I'm aware of all the background noise. But what I'm showing up for with, it was actually Dreamcatcher. What I'm showing up for with Dreamcatcher, I know, Laura, I got 13. I'm like the old lady that lived in a shoe. I am not focusing on her behavior that I'm wishing wasn't showing up. I'm focusing on the root cause of it, which is either my energy or her discomfort. And so that you guys get an idea of where things can go, Dreamcatcher is out on in a 3-acre pasture with her real son and her adopted son. And I treat Dreamcatcher in her pasture, often without a halter and a lead rope on, because I have nurtured our relationship to that kind of depth. Now, because I reward her good behavior with a cookie, I have her 2 sons, who are double trouble, wanting to get into the party of let's have cookies. And so I will put the halter on Dream, not because Dream needs the halter, but because now I have a lead rope to defend mine and Dream's personal space, to keep those boys out of our boundaries, out of our bubble. But I drape that rope over Dream's neck while I'm doing everything I need to do. And it's not a fight, because I've taken the time to let her know she has a choice and a voice in the matter. when I come out the next time to treat her eyes, I am very aware when I call her name, what is her reaction? Does she like duck her head like, oh my God, I don't hear her? Does she go to the opposite end of the 3-acre pasture? Or does she stand still and let me approach her? Today she was laying down and she let me approach her, warm compress both eyes, put some of the eye meds in before the boys became too much trouble, and she stood up. So how my horse meets me the next time tells me how well I did the time before.
Yeah. And you have to slow down and pay attention to that stuff. If you really want to be someone who can operate around your horse, it goes back to our last episode of how are you feeling their energy? If you slow down and take a couple deep breaths and tune in, I can totally feel the difference between MJ just being content standing in the sun, letting me come to her, but happy to see me. And MJ, even if all 4 feet stay perfectly planted, being just a little resistant to how I show up, turning her head, just tipping her nose slightly away so that she's showing me with her body language, like, yeah, you're here. So when the rain is really bad and the pastures are muddy, I come out. I make her go on a walk because it's so important for her tendons to stay moving. If she had her way, she'd be under her shelter all day long and not come out. And so I show up and squelch through the mud and halter her, and she won't run away. She knows running in the mud is terrible for her tendons, but she'll just make herself as tall as possible and as stiff as possible, and I have to like clamber up a stone statue and put the halter on it. And that's her way of communicating. I don't want to be here. And I feel that. And when you feel that, when you really understand where your horse is at, you approach them appropriately. And when you approach them appropriately, you take your ego and your wants for the day and all that out of it. You don't get in over your head. And you tailor whatever you're doing that day to set them up for success. That resistant, stiff horse that doesn't want to go anywhere is not a horse I'm going to saddle up and try to ride out the driveway on. We're going to end up doing bunny crow hops in the driveway while I'm trying to make her go and she doesn't want to. Why would I do that when I can see so clearly what her needs are and just meet them? I know it sucks. Come on out, have some hay. We're going to go on a short walk and we're going to come right back in and it's going to be warm. And, just that energy of, I see you, I honor you, come on, is so. Then seeing her resistance and matching it with more resistance. As soon as you do that, you're in a struggle fight. But that takes such deep awareness on your part to constantly be the bigger person. And it also takes the confidence to maybe be a little different than the people around you. We're talking about how we respond to a horse's behaviors, and some of them are more extreme than others. I have a friend who has a new horse, and the more we get to know him, and now she's like reached out to some past owners, and now we know nobody's ever been nice to this horse a day in his life. Mm-hmm. And he doesn't trust nice. He thinks it's weird. And I went out to blanket him for her a couple weeks ago, and he tried to bite the snot out of me. And I immediately felt it coming off of him. I'm going to get you before you can get me. And so I just took a step back and said, I'm not going to get you. I'd like to put your blanket on you, but I've got a baby on my back. So if you try that again, I'm just going to leave. And I stood there with that energy hanging in the air. And he sighed and his whole body relaxed. And I stepped forward and put the blanket on him and walked away. And people would have been watching me. The expectation would have been that I came out, bonked him on the nose, and made him move his feet and told him that is not acceptable. But that's the pattern he was trying to trigger. And I interrupted it and said no. And it started shifting for him. And I think we're going to have to do that for a long time with him because he has to learn that nice is predictable and it's going to stay nice. But it's so important that she understands that about her horse because it allows her to set him up for success. We have to get to know these beings and be able to feel them and set them up for success. If we're constantly triggering toxic patterns within ourselves and within them, it would be a constant. Every time you approach that horse with a blanket, you'd have to bonk him really hard on the nose 3 times before you could get the blanket on. Nobody wants to do that with their horse.
It's interesting. I'm working with a horse right now, a big draft horse named George. And I don't know his full history. He's actually young. Well, he's like middle-aged. He's 9, 10. And he's kind of coming from the same thing. I don't know if he's had poor behavior, poor treatment his entire life, but he definitely has for the last 3 or 4 years. And he's just such this big, gentle giant. But listening to you talk about this guy and recognizing, which is huge, you guys. I don't know if you caught how huge Laura's statement just was, that he does not trust nice. He's suspicious of those who are not taking advantage of him and treating him poorly. That's sad.
Yeah.
That's sad. But it's also huge to be able to recognize what is triggering this horse's behavior, because you can't interrupt a pattern that you don't know what is triggering the pattern in the first place.
Okay, I want to throw in, I didn't know that information about him when that happened. I found that out later, and then it made sense.
Okay, so
The feeling of it was so obvious. I'm going to get you before you can get me. That's all I had. And it was like, okay, then I'm not going to get you. What are you going to do with that now?
and that's episode 1. I mean, that's our last episode, that, that feeling.
Feel.
Get
Yeah.
out of your head, and what do you feel? I mean, yes, we need to observe what we're seeing, but don't let the mind tell you the story that's happening, because the mind is drawing on your past experience.
And your training and what other people say,
Yeah.
all your limiting beliefs and all of the things that are mucking you up is your
Right.
mind. Yes.
So you're not getting accurate information from your intellect in the moment. Your feel, your heart, your gut is going to be way more reliable. But when Laura saw what was being presented in the moment, this horse is being reactive, and he's also feeling aggressive versus assertive. There's difference. She summed up the situation very quickly. I have my precious 8-month-old on my back. This is a battle I can't win, nor am I even willing or interested in having it with you. But what I really want to, so that's important, to be able to assess a situation, boom, like that. And the reason that she did it, 1, she's had a lot of experience, but 2, she was in feel. She was seeing and observing, but feeling, not thinking about what she was seeing. And then this is where my point is actually going. Horses read body language, and they are, all animals, all including human beings, have the ability to speak intuitively with one another. So in that moment, she felt and heard him. She pulled back and said, I'm not engaging in that. I will leave if this is not happening. She's thinking that. I don't know if she's saying it out loud or not. It doesn't matter. When you think something, the human mind plays this little video in that space in the middle of our forehead, right between our eyes. It plays a video screen of what you're thinking. And if you are thinking something negative, it changes your energy in your body. It also changes the chemical release, whether it's endorphins or adrenaline, and animals smell that. So they feel her shift, like, whoa, dude, I'm not looking for a fight. He felt that. He also heard her intuitively saying, I'm not here to fight. And the reason whether you believe that, whether you've heard that before, I would ask that you open your mind and your heart when you hear this and maybe even replay it because it's true. I'm an animal communicator. I intuitively talk to animals all the time. I teach people how to do that. And so I'm going to do just a quick little play for that. And I want you guys to play with this on your own so that you can see the human mind cannot think without seeing. So follow me here. I got up this morning, pulled on my jeans and my shirt, my favorite boots, went out, fed my horses, came in, fed the birds, ate some breakfast, jumped in my car, forgot my sunglasses, ran back in the house, kissed the dog, grabbed the glasses, jumped in the car, went and saw George. George doesn't like to be caught. So when I come into the pasture, George looks at me sideways and he's heading off in the opposite direction. Now, you guys don't know me other than Laura. You don't know where I live, what I look like, what kind of dog I have, what kind of car I drive, or where I went to see George. But did you or did you not see all of that in your mind's eye? How about you, Laura?
I know you too well, so I saw all of it, but I don't know George. To me, he was a giant black and white paint draft.
Right. So see, we see the story in our mind's eye.
Yeah.
That's what our horses pick up on. If it's a scary story or something that somebody said that pissed you off, that's the energy that's coming out. How did my energy feel around that story?
Frustrated because you had forgot the sunglasses. You had to go back for him.
So isn't that fun? That's the one thing Laura picked up on. Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's a fun thing. You guys play with that. Listen to that section over and over again if you want. If you want to really become aware of how what you're thinking, if it doesn't match what you're saying, your horse is picking up on what you're thinking. That's why you can't fake it till you make it around horses.
Yeah. So, how can we use this awareness when we're approaching a problem that feels like one of those really big problems with our horse, where we start questioning, do I need to call a quote unquote cowboy? Do I need to go to extreme measures? Is this something I can overcome, or is this horse going to seriously injure itself or me? My personal answer to this, and I want Cindy to share hers afterward, is to always slow it down. Slow it down to the point where those thoughts and those fears go away and you have the confidence to handle it. I've worked with a lot of traumatized rescue horses. And I believe this is how I have managed to be successful with them. Is there are very few things with horses that are actual emergencies. If your horse has to be trimmed today, I challenge that. Do they really have to be trimmed today? Because I've seen horses go 5 years without a trim. Is it ideal? No, it's not ideal. As someone who's about to start taking on farrier clients, it's going to be a 6-week schedule or no go with me. Except if we have to go at your horse's pace. And in that case, if I have to trim one hoof and that's all they can handle, that's what we will do. In a veterinary emergency, I sure hope you can get drugs on board. But you do not have to ride your horse today. If you can't catch your horse, I wouldn't go on a ride with it. But slow it down. If taking 4 steps toward your horse while they maintain eye contact with you and turning away and then walking away is all you can do right now and be successful and confident with that feeling their energy and having a positive exchange between the two of you, then that's what you are going to do for the next, until that becomes boring and then make it 10. But there's so much cultural pressure to cowboy up and get it done, then that's where they lose their feel, they get into their heads, they push themselves and their horse beyond what they're ready for, and their problems get bigger. And horses and humans end up in really icky situations when that happens. And so that's where I go to. If I can't maintain my feel, and I can't maintain my I totally got you energy flowing to me and the horse, I have no business continuing. And I can say that really, really easily as a layman. And I recognize that. And I'm just really setting the intention as I start my professional journey in the horse industry that I can hold on to that and not put myself and horses in situations that I have no business doing that. Is your horse trying to tell you something? Your horse is always communicating, but are you listening? If you've ever struggled with tension, confusion, or resistance, it's not random. Your horse is trying to tell you something. In the Secrets to the Horse-Human Experience You've Always Wanted, we'll show you how to decode your horse's signals, fix miscommunication, and create a true partnership built on trust and understanding. Don't miss this live event. Save your spot now at the link in the show notes.
I'm going to use George as an example because I feel like a lot of horses struggle with this, and therefore their humans do. George has been in this woman's life for about 3 months. His big old draft horse, nice guy. And he doesn't want to be caught. But the reason he doesn't want to be caught is because every time he's been caught and taken out of his habitat, which is a pasture, unpleasant things have happened. George hasn't been honored. George hasn't been seen. George didn't have a voice. George was made to do things. George is 16 hands easy. And he's probably 1,800 pounds. Maybe, I don't know if he's 2,000, but he's way over 1,500. He is a big horse. He's a draft horse. But those guys can often be the most gentlest giants. And so this client called me in because what was being told for her to do did not feel right. And I've known this woman for a very long time. So when I went out to meet George, things had gotten so bad. The vet came, the farrier came, she couldn't catch George. So a well-meaning person cowboyed him. And I can't go into depth on that, you guys, because I don't want to know what was done to George under the cowboyed him definition. But it obviously wasn't good, because now you can't even touch George if you have a halter in your hand. She hasn't been able to groom George because George doesn't want anybody within his bubble. So when I went out to him and introduced myself for the very first time, I made sure that I was grounded and present, with no agenda other than to meet each other. It's like me and you sitting down at Starbucks to have a cup of coffee. My agenda is to get to know you. And in that assessment period of getting to know each other, how close can George let me get to him before he has to move? I've pushed him out of his comfort zone. He has to move. I want to know where that line is, because I need something to gauge. Because as I'm introducing myself to him and I'm opening myself energetically with a big warm bubble and an open heart, and moving around and communicating with him in a way that they communicate, which is body language, working with his pressure, his balance points, trying to move his feet and hindquarters just with my energy and intention. By the end of the first session, I was able to approach George, pet him on the shoulder, and walk away before he had to move his feet. So then the next time I came, I was able to approach him, stand next to him, shoulder to shoulder, for about 15 seconds before he had to move his feet. So he's telling me where his new comfort zone is. Where is that edge? And so by the end of that session, I was able to pet him all over, walk behind him with my hand on his rump, come up to the front of him and pet him on the face and walk away. So this time when I showed up, I had a halter and lead rope in my hands. But I didn't act like, here, look, I have a halter and lead rope. I just had it. He was very aware. The minute I stepped into his pasture, he saw that lead rope and halter and lead rope. But what I wanted George to know is this is a nothing. It's a part of me. It's not a tool. It's not something that's it is a part of me. I may or may not introduce it to you. So then today I walked in without the halter and lead rope, but with a savvy string, a 6-foot 1/4 inch rope that I always carry in my back pocket. And George had made a shift. Today when I walked in, he was with the other two. I petted the other two, one stroke down the middle of their noses, and George as well, and turned around and walked away. And he was present. I was able to go in, rub them all on the shoulder, George on the shoulder, and walk away. So I never forced myself upon him. By the end of today, I was haltering him. And then my goal, Laura, was to halter him and walk him to the gate and unhalter him, making it a pleasurable experience, letting George know, you have a voice and a choice, and I hear you. Where are your limits? We're going to stop at your limit. We're going to pause and breathe together and give you the opportunity to reset your nervous system to know that you are really actually okay. My intention with George was, please let me show you that I'm not like everybody else. Can you just give me a long enough to show you? Like Laura did with the blanket and the horse that wanted to bite her. So I haltered him up and started to ask him to move towards the gate, and he wouldn't move his feet. And I went, huh. So I asked him to move his feet to the left, which was away from the gate, and he walked off freely with me. So I'm like, all right. So I turned and made a half circle and headed back towards the gate, and he froze his feet. George is telling me loud and clear, I can do this in here, but nothing good happens past that gate. So I've earned this horse's trust to the point that he lets me put a halter on him. Am I going to push the limits and force him out that gate today? Absolutely not. We're going to walk in circles. I'm going to get him to take 2 steps in the direction of the gate, and then we're going to go off and walk a circle. So I'm asking him to move closer to the thing that he associates as bad, and then we're going to take a walk in the different directions so he can reset.
Yeah.
And so next time, I don't know. Thank God this client is who she is. She's putting George's well-being, his emotional and mental well-being, above what she wants to be doing with him. I don't know when we're going to get George out that gate. George is going to tell us when he can get out that gate. And a lot of people will be, you're letting the horse dictate. The answer is no, we are not. I pushed George out of his comfort zone, just over the edge, probably 8 times in a session today, but I never kept him there. I tipped him over it and brought him back. That's how you push that comfort zone to be wider, and you help them get over their fear. There's a powerful saying, take the time that it takes so it takes less time. So yeah, the guy went in and cowboyed him for the veterinarian and the farrier. And I don't know how long it took it, but he got it done in time for the vet to do its stuff. And the result was you can't catch the horse. You come in with a halter, he's gone. But by the time I'm done with George and we step outside that gate and we have a good experience on the other side of that gate, George is going to be maybe not completely over it, but 80% beyond the I can't be haltered and leave that gate, because we took it at his pace.
And this is so big. Do not be afraid to ask the professionals in your horse's life to help keep them within their comfort zone. I'm willing to bet that vet and farrier might have been perfectly happy to just go out and met George where he was, as long as it was safe for them. And that would have been a wildly different experience for George that would have built his confidence. George is going to eventually, we want him to come out of the pasture. You know, there are concerns with a horse that won't come out of the pasture. But when we get all caught up in it making it happen on our timeline, that's when we go backwards. So I always, am working on noticing MJ's edges and working with her more, but when a professional is working on her is not the time to ask her to step way out of her comfort zone.
Right.
I want her relaxed and working with that person. Like, no sane farrier wants to get under your horse who wants nothing more than to run away back to their friends. That's super dangerous for them and for your horse. So don't be afraid to be your horse's advocate and recognize that there's unfortunately a stigma that comes with that in the horse industry. Oh, she's weak. She's letting her horse get away with do whatever they want. Da 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 da. No, you're advocating for your horse. When it becomes a problem is when you're not putting in the time between the farrier visits and between the vet visits to eventually get George out of the pasture. But if you're working on it and you're advocating that the people who are on your horse's team meet them where you are, you, in my opinion, are being an elite level horse person.
It's the mindset, Like, are you not pushing your horse over their threshold? Because you don't want to hurt their feelings and you don't want them to be mad at you, or you're afraid of what they're going to do, or you just don't want to be mean. He doesn't like that. We don't do that because he doesn't like that.
Right.
Or are you doing it from the mindset of, I can clearly see that there is some form of trauma behind this. And therefore, we're not going to make you do this today, because at the root of everything we do with our horses, it's about the relationship and the partnership. It's not about the thing we're trying to do. If you can't do the thing you're trying to do because your horse has had a negative experience in the past, it's because your horse doesn't fully believe in you. You have not proven yourself to be a leader worthy of their trust. So we need to slow it down, back it up, break it down into small pieces. My approach with George, the minute I was hired to come out and work with him, was, this is a horse who's never been haltered. On top of that, this is a horse who has been traumatized because he was forced to be haltered. Now, there's a difference there, people, and I'd like for you to think about it. A horse being haltered and a horse being forced to be haltered. Ponder that. Bring it up in your mind's eye. What do each of those look like? George, because he was hard to catch in the pasture, the former people, first he was abandoned. So he sat out there with his buddies for 2 years. Then these people decided they wanted George. And George was difficult to be caught. Why? Because he's out there for 2 years with his buddies. Who knows what happened prior? So because he's difficult to catch, they caught him and they put him in a pen that was way too small for a draft horse. Apparently, it was tight for him to even turn around and lay down and try and roll.
Oh.
They kept him there for 5 months. The only time George got out was when they took him out and worked him in the arena and put him away. So why in the heck would George want to be caught? And then when those people abandon him, and the owner of the stables is like, okay, does anybody want this horse? George was put back out to pasture with his buddies.
Life got good again.
So why would George want to be caught?
Why would George want to be with people?
Why would George want to be forced to be haltered?
Yeah.
It's full circle back to all behavior is communication.
And the complete other side of the spectrum is, we're not going to say, oh, poor George, you never have to be haltered again because that was so awful for you. And we're just going to tell your story over and over again. And here's why George can't do anything. And George is not George's trauma. Just like
George's story.
Yeah, just like none of us are what has happened to us that was out of our control. We have the gift of being the supposedly higher intelligence. I don't know if we're going to continue to believe that in the long term, but we have the cognitive ability to see and hear George and help him overcome. And that is our job. Meeting him just where he is and asking him to overcome it one step at a time. We don't let him stay stuck and wallow. We don't force him to just get over it because we would like to go on a trail ride now.
Did you know that some of the most common training and horse care methods are actually causing stress, resistance, and even health issues in your horse? You love your horse and are doing your best. But what if what you've been taught is holding you both back? Join us for the secrets to the horse-human experience you've always wanted. where we'll reveal the 6 biggest mistakes horse owners make and how to fix them so you can build a willing, relaxed, and deeply connected partnership with your horse. Spots are limited. Sign up now at the link in the show notes. My question that I have for all of my clients and myself often is, it's not whether or not my horse can be the horse I want them to be, or your horse be the horse you want them to be. The better question, the correct question, the question that comes before that is, can you be the person your horse needs you to be? And if you can be that person, your horse will, without a doubt, I guarantee, will be the horse you want them to be. It's not about the horse, people.
Yeah.
It's about us.
I have seen it play out hundreds of times and know that to be true.
So we're going to end this episode with, if you're struggling with your horse or your horse is struggling with you, can you be that person your horse needs you to be?
And if you are one of those people who have realized you are dedicated to becoming the person who your horse needs you to be, we are so excited to invite you to our live event on April 13th. So, this is for all of you amazing people who are listening in real time. All you have to do is click the link in the show notes to join the Secrets to the Horse Human Experience You've Always Wanted. In that event, we are going into the 6 most common mistakes we see horse people make and how you can overcome them and make different choices and really become that person your horse needs you to be.
So if you have any questions about the topics covered in this episode, send us a message on our Facebook page, Holistic Horsemanship and Husbandry, and we will answer your question in a post on our page. You will be anonymous. We'll just take the question and provide our input, and we want to do it on the post so that we can all learn and grow together, because nobody knows everything. Thank you for tuning in to another episode. We want to remind you that we'll be here every second and fourth Tuesday of the month, following the golden rule. Have a plan, but always be willing to be flexible. Don't forget to connect with us using the links in the show notes below.
If you learned something new today, had an aha, or walked away with a valuable nugget, you can say thanks by leaving us a 5-star review on whatever platform you're listening on.